Because now what we're going to talk about is the AP Top 25, which released on Monday. So, just to start off, because we're tying everything back into that, there is not a single Group of 5 team in the top 25. And that's really telling. And I get it, it's preseason, okay? And something else about these preseason rankings, TBD-CFB does not do a preseason ranking. We used to, and then we started thinking about it. What are we really basing these rankings on? Their off-season recruiting, their talent, their eye test based in spring camp and fall camp. Where does that happen on a football field versus other teams in their conference and in the sphere of college football? It doesn't. So, we don't really agree with the preseason, but of course it's here, and we definitely have some disagreements. Obviously some things that, look pretty good. They got it right, voters got it right, but also some things that were just like, And we get it, writers got it right, and, we got to have something to look forward to, and we got to rank them somehow, but we don't release our rankings, which we do a top 12. We don't do a top 25, we do a top 12, but we don't release our rankings until after week 1, and we base it on how they look, on who they played, what that strength of game looked like, and some people disagree with it, because it's almost nothing like the AP Top 25 looks, but we like to do it that way, because we want the teams that we think looked the best from week to week. So you'll see ours after week 1. Who do we think, guys? Too high, too low? Hit me with it.
Let me start here. Number 5 and number 7. And honestly, number 8. Kind of a sham. Bama, Notre Dame, and Penn State. Listen, I don't like Bama. You can say I'm biased. It is what it is. The fact is, Kalen DeBoer hasn't coached it down. Alabama has lost. Listen, they still got Jalen Milroe. Congratulations. He didn't win the Heisman. I'm just saying. But here's the reality. He hasn't coached it down. Alabama has lost several players. Again, they're going to have some of Saban's coattails there. He's going to be an advisor of the program. Let's not pretend he's not there. But he's not on the field, and it's not his team anymore. Bama is too high. Notre Dame is consistently ranked in the top 10. I don't really like it. Marcus Freeman's a good coach. I think they've got a shot. Riley Leonard could prove to be a difference maker in South Bend. I don't think he's all that great, but it's just my opinion. He played for Duke. Duke football, one good year. Duke's a basketball school, okay? And they're pretty good at baseball, but they're a basketball school. Last but not least, Penn State. I like James Franklin. Still crazy to think he coached at Vandy. I like Penn State. It's one of my bucket list items to go to a game at Beaver. But consistently, they play against the big dogs, i.e. Michigan and Ohio State. And pretty much every year, they have 2 losses on their conference record, and it's always to those guys. So if you want my opinion, those 3, I don't think should be ranked quite as high. I think all 3 of them are top 12, but I don't think Bama's top 5. Penn State, I could probably see at number 10, and Notre Dame, top 12, I could see it, but the top 7, I'm not really with it.
So I think from 16 to 25, and you can probably see it on the screen right here, you could probably take any of these teams and put them anywhere. I mean, I think Oklahoma might be a little too low, especially with them being in the SEC this year. Oklahoma State has Ollie Gordon, obviously the number 1 player in the country, but the rest of their team might be a little Texas A&M probably a little too high. Kansas I can see. USC, NC State. I'm not surprised that Iowa's at 25. They usually come in early at the preseason. They'll probably be out by like week 5 or 6. So no, I'm just kidding, but maybe. It's really 1 through 10. Isaac, I'm gonna disagree with you. I think that Alabama's right where they should be. I would probably switch Oregon and Texas. I think that Oregon is ranked a little too high. Georgia, Ohio State, right where they should be. Ole Miss, they also might be a little too high. There's a lot of Jackson Dart hype out there. We'll see. We'll really see on that one. I'm not sure about that. Pretty much everybody else, I think, is interchangeable. It was a little surprised to see Clemson at 14, but I guess they're poised to have a good year. Something that I was talking about today when it comes to Clemson, because me and Joey are going to that game. It'll be fun. The only person who is going to really lose that game, if they lose it, is Georgia. Clemson needs a staple win. They do. However, if they lose, it was Kirby Smart, man. It was bound to happen. Crazy recruiting classes, great guys. Coach has won has had 3 undefeated seasons. The only team to beat Georgia since 2020, not named Alabama, is Florida in 2020. There's nobody that's beaten Georgia named Alabama since 2020. But if Georgia loses, you lost to the guy who doesn't even use the transfer portal. You lost to the guy who hasn't been in the playoffs since 2020. You lost to a team whose offensive line has been dog water the last 4 years. So Clemson needs the win for the perception of their school, but again, the person who's really going to lose the perception of the general public if they lose this game is Georgia. If we lose to the number 14th ranked team in week 1, it's going to be rough. We're going to fall far. Probably not out of the top 10, but we're still going to fall far. But everybody else, I think, is pretty interchangeable. Again, it's preseason, so it's going to be it's really hard to tell. Yeah, it's just hard to tell for me. I mean, some of these teams pretty interchangeable. Like I said, 16 through 25, top 10, obviously. I think they got it right for the most part. I think I would flip Oregon and Texas. I think I would drop Michigan lower. Missouri's right where they should be. I think Utah's right where they should be. Tennessee, again. There's a lot of SEC and Big Ten schools in here. Talked about that favor earlier with the 12-team playoff, but we'll see what happens. What do you think, Joey?
First off, I'm going to go ahead and say I think Georgia should not be number 1. I think that off-the-field issues that are occurring can be a pretty big problem. And they've happened quite a bit this summer. I still think they're top 2. I just don't think they're the better one of the top 2. I think Ohio State should flip with Georgia. I kind of like...
It's okay. We can all be wrong sometimes.
I kind of like the Oregon-Texas position. I think Texas is a great program. I just think that when it comes to Oregon, their defense is just that much better. And they always have great talent on offense. So really it just comes down to that defense. Alabama, I think, is at the right position. We don't know where they're at, so 5 right in the middle of that top 10 is okay for now for me personally. Ole Miss, at first I thought they were too low, but then I got thinking. They lost a big weapon in Judkins, and I don't know right now how they will adjust with that, if they have somebody in place for them, how their offense is going to run without that big name at running back to where you have to worry about the run game as well. And their defense is just never good. Notre Dame, typical. Penn State, typical. Do I think they should be there? No. Am I surprised? No. Michigan, I think they should be outside the top 10. I think Florida State should be above them. You know what? I'll put them at 10, actually. Florida State being above them. Missouri, I'm concerned about. I think they had one good fluke year, but we'll see. There's a lot of question marks around Missouri right now. I think they're too high right now. Utah, still question marks around them. Can freaking Cam Rising stay healthy?
I was about to say, they will have Cam Rising back, though.
Yeah, and I mean, they're in the same boat as Iowa, really. Their defense is carrying right now. And Iowa's at 25. So what's putting, other than Cam Rising, what is putting Utah so high?
Cam
LSU?
Rising.
Yeah, exactly. LSU, good. Clemson. Really, like you said, 16 down is, whatever. I don't think a lot of the teams are going to be there after, the first, 4 weeks. But yeah, I think down to Clemson, maybe even Tennessee. Down to Tennessee is where it's like, there's, for me, a lot of question marks. I don't know where you get that number for this team. But yeah.